As I made plans for my new video game room, I started to feel a little cheered up. I mean, it isn't easy to move to a new house in a new town. Thus writes R.L. Stine in Piano Lessons Can Be Murder, the 13th story from the massively popular Goosebumps book series. Stine and Scholastic knew they had to grab the merchandising unicorn by the horn when Goosebumps exploded into popularity 30 years ago.
Excuse me, miss? Could I get this gift wrapped?
And even if kids weren't interested in reading the books, they'd still buy the toys, gaze at the TV show, and click around in the video games. The phenomenon of Goosebumps began in 1992, but it wasn't until a TV show in 1995 that the media frenzy reached its fever pitch.
Goosebumps coming up next on Fox Kids Monsterama Saturday.
The first video game based on Goosebumps takes inspiration from its live-action cousin, and was driven by two powerhouses known as DreamWorks and Microsoft. This partnership led to Escape from HorrorLand, a point-and-click PC adventure that blends live-action performances,
Freaky mummy in the Valley of the Lost Kings. Anyways, this ring has these powers.
miniature sets, and CG graphics to produce a sequel to the popular One Day at Horrorland story.
Hurry, make them lock or something! Get the cage open! I don't care what they say! We have to go in for them!
DreamWorks returned as publisher for a second PC game in 1997. But this time, they shopped out development duties to a studio called Blue Sky Software. The new team chose to adapt Attack of the Mutant, a story that follows a boy who faces off against the villain from his favorite comic book. The game presents a journey with first-person gameplay in the vein of Doom. Goosebumps books continued on for several more years,
Way to go!
but legal troubles between Scholastic and Stine nearly spelled the end of the franchise.
I hope I'm not late.
Not at all. You're just in time for me to kick you silly.
No one with good sense leaves a lucrative franchise to languish for long, so Scholastic and Stine settled their differences by 2006 and found the weirdest way to reintroduce Goosebumps video games to the world. Like other fast food restaurants of the early 2000s, the Wendy's burger chain hired Artec Studios to produce a DVD game for kids' meals called the Goosebumps What's Different Challenge. This simple game requires the player to select the differences between various versions of the Goosebumps book covers.
Too bad. That's correct.
While a DVD picture game is, nice, it wasn't until 2008 that Goosebumps returned to video games in full force. Stine and Scholastic were back in the swing of things with their new HorrorLand book series, and they utilized the power of Web 2.0 to provide an online escape with the Enter HorrorLand website. This minigame collection featured direct ties to the ongoing book series, with unique content that only made sense for players who were following along in the books as well. In addition to online flash games, Scholastic also created a new division called Elastic Media to get back into the video game market. They hired Gusto Games to make the first big entry in the series since 1997, simply titled Goosebumps HorrorLand. Much like the Enter HorrorLand website, Goosebumps HorrorLand is based on the premise that the player can wander around the infamous scary theme park.
Tracks out ahead! Lead to the left!
And hop onto numerous creepy and increasingly dangerous attractions along the way. The books continued beyond the HorrorLand series, and this led Scholastic to secure a deal for the first theatrical Goosebumps movie in 2015. The video game based on that movie was simply titled Goosebumps: The Game. Developed by WayForward and published by Game Mill Entertainment, this engaging visual novel allows players to click through a spooky story in any town, USA. The game is a strangely successful interpretation of the Goosebumps license, evoking the thoughtful pace and creepy atmosphere of classic visual novels like Snatcher.
Whoa! A time bomb!
Goosebumps the game wasn't the only game to release in support of the movie, and it was followed by Goosebumps Night of Scares from Cosmic Forces. This first mobile game takes place in R.L. Stine's house from the movie.
Don't panic, don't panic. Best to trap him again.
With Stine himself trapped in a typewriter by Slappy the dummy. The player's goal is to search for the pages of a magic book while dodging monsters from the Goosebumps universe. It's a riff on the jump scare gameplay from Five Nights at Freddy's, and even includes a VR mode for full spooky immersion.
Ah, the books.
While VR gameplay was a popular choice for mobile games in the mid-teens, Goosebumps was also primed for another content-heavy type of game known as a freemium city builder. With 25 years of Goosebumps stories to pull from, it was a layup of a project for game developer Pixowl. The game involves players tapping on characters and buildings, gathering resources, and waiting a long time for tasks to complete until they pay to speed things up. The second Goosebumps movie released in 2018, and it did receive some interactive promotional content in the form of AR social games from developer Crikey. However, those games were relatively small and disappeared not long after they were released, with the only evidence of their existence in the form of some trailers and scattered news articles.
There's no turning back!
The most recent game released in 2020 and was titled Goosebumps Dead of Night. Developer Cosmic Forces returned, and they leveraged their 2015 game as a template for an expanded experience that includes the same gameplay and setting for the first level, an original second level based on the classic Goosebumps story Stay Out of the Basement, and a final level that is an expanded version of the climactic final sequence of the second movie.
I've seen lab rats get through mazes faster than you.
It's only a shame that the developers didn't get the time or budget to expand the experience beyond 3 levels.
That makes me far more angry than anything else you've done.
Goosebumps was a titan of the publishing and TV industries when the first video games dropped in the 90s. And while there have been ups and downs since the peak of Goosebumps in the wider culture,
Dead ringer!
Stine has never stopped writing horror stories for young audiences. The author's works have received adaptations for decades.
It's happening again.
And in addition to the 2 recent movies, Goosebumps will return to TV with a new show slated for Disney Plus in 2023. Fans can only hope that the next developer to snag the license gives players an unabashed Goosebumps experience that true bumpheads deserve.
I always said she was nothing but a slimy girl.
Can you please save the hilarious insults till later? I am not having a very good time here.